Hey everyone, so I've been creating videos on this channel for a while now, and I think it's going great, but we've got a serious problem. The amount of comments I get about my cooking skills is out of control. This guy cannot cook. Bro, you just don't know how to cook. This man has the cooking skills of a 19-year-old. You're a horrible cook. Stop complaining and learn how to cook. This guy should go to cooking school. Wow, you do not know how to cook. LOL. Well, today, all that changes with the help of one man, Gordon James Ramsay. If you don't know who Gordon Ramsay is, he's essentially the Tiger Woods of celebrity chefs. Maybe not the best chef of all time, but arguably the most recognizable. 17 Michelin stars over the course of his career, hit TV shows across multiple countries, a personality that launched 1,000 memes, and a global restaurant empire. The guy turned yelling into an international business. And to his credit, he's embraced every bit of it. Not every chef reaches this level of stardom. Where's Emerald at? Where's Chef Boyardee? Making canned soup? What schmucks? The point is, there are not many chefs that have this level of cultural significance, and I generally don't have anything negative to say about Gordon. Yet. On September 15th, 2025, Gordon Ramsay launched his own line of meal kits in partnership with Home Chef, a meal kit and pre-made delivery service owned by Kroger. The pitch is simple. Learn to cook like Gordon Ramsay from your own kitchen. Home Chef is a corporate juggernaut, partnering with Dolly Parton, Ayesha Curry, and even Minecraft. Yes, seriously, and customers seem into it. Home Chef reportedly generates over $1 billion a year in sales, which honestly surprises me. If you spend any time on the internet, you know these things are controversial. Meal kits like HelloFresh, Blue Apron, Green Chef, Sunbasket, and Factor have a bit of a reputation. Search Factor on YouTube and the first thing that pops up is a lineup of videos titled Everything Wrong with Factor. People love hating on these things. They say they're overpriced, the produce arrives limp, and they rely on heavy discounts to hook you in before jacking up the price. By all accounts, ordering these boxes seems too good to be true, right? Well, with the reported sales and the amount of money these companies spend on advertising, something is clearly working. For a lot of people, the convenience, the doorstep delivery, and the teach me how to cook without actually teaching me factor is worth it. So when I saw Gordon Ramsay partner with Home Chef, I figured if I can learn to cook like Gordon Ramsay, test one of the biggest meal kit companies in the world, and prove Terry Jones 2330 wrong, that's a win-win-win. So here's the plan. I'll be cooking and eating 15 meals from Home Chef. 10 of those meals will be Gordon Ramsay meals, and 5 will be from the regular Home Chef menu. How do they compare? Is this stuff worth the money? Can a normal guy learn to cook 5-star meals from home? And of course, are meal kits legit or just a glorified box of disappointment? When I signed up, Home Chef asked me a bunch of questions about my food profile. What kind of foods I like, what I want to avoid, allergies, all that. I clicked through most of it because all I cared about was getting the Gordon Ramsay meals. It asked how many meals a week I wanted, and I picked the max because I wanted to try as many Gordon Ramsay meals as possible. My total came to $78.88 for 6 meals, but I couldn't look at the specific meal prices until after I paid, which feels wrong to me. Like, imagine walking into a restaurant and they just charge your card before showing you a menu. I bit the bullet, and once I paid to see the menu, I went to select my meals and ran into my first of many problems. So I'd used the official Gordon Ramsay link from an Instagram ad that took me to the sales page that very heavily implied I was signing up specifically for Gordon Ramsay's meals. That's the whole point we're here, right? Well, after I paid, none of the meals they auto-selected were his. Not one. I'm dead serious. Even though his face was plastered on the login screen, not a single Gordon Ramsay recipe was selected by default, which I don't really get. Thankfully, you can go in and manually edit your order, but that's when I started hitting more friction. Home Chef only releases 2 Gordon Ramsay meals per week, meaning you can't actually try all of Gordon Ramsay's recipes without subscribing for months, which is kind of insane, but it gets better. The $70.88 I paid upfront was for 6 default meals. The moment I swapped those out for Gordon's meals, the total climbed fast. On some weeks, his dishes ranged from $13 to $20 per meal. So no joke, some of the items featured in the ads cost more than everything else. Between the vague sign-up flow, the rotating menu, and the surprise upcharge for ordering the meals that I actually wanted, the whole thing felt very overly complicated and even a bit misleading. But we're committed, and now all we do is wait. After waiting about 2 weeks, it was finally time to see what Home Chef and Gordon Ramsay had in store for me. The first box had 3 meals inside, along with a binder where I could store my exclusive Home Chef recipe cards. These recipe cards break down the difficulty level, the spice level, the prep and cook time, and they even include a QR code where you can find the recipe online. I've got all these goodies inside. I've got some bok choy, straight from the source, wherever that is. What's the deal with bok choy? I don't really know. When's the last time you bought a bok choy? Leave a comment down below. Bok choy, what's the deal with it? Is this the bok choy? I don't even think this is bok choy. Why didn't you tell me it was a bok choy? This is bok choy, by the way, if you didn't know. This is bok choy. These are green onions. Let's cook this up. Despite its difficulty rating, this seemed pretty straightforward. First step was to just prepare the ingredients by chopping everything up, bok choy, green onions, and then of course crushing the peanuts in a slightly provocative manner. After that, I had to make Gordon Ramsay's special sauce, which was just soy sauce and sambal, not too mysterious. Next up was prepping the steak. The steak actually looked like great quality. When it came time to cook, I tossed the veggies into a non-stick pan and let them sizzle for about 5 minutes. Then I threw the steak onto my cast iron skillet and cooked that for about 5 minutes, adding in that soy sauce mixture. And then it was rice time. This was super easy. They just wanted me to massage the rice and then throw it into the veggie pan, along with some of that Gordon Ramsay sauce, some vinegar, and of course ginger. This was honestly super easy to make, and in no time, it was time to plate. Well, how was it? Honestly, I was somewhat impressed. The food was pretty good. The flavors were pretty impactful, different and dynamic all at the same time. The portion size was pretty generous. The question is though, would I pay for it every week? That, I don't really know. All right, it is time for meal number 2. However, there's a little bit of a problem. They didn't send me the correct recipe card. They sent me the coconut lime petite scallops page, and that's not at all what I want. This is not an official Gordon Ramsay meal. So I actually had to look up the meal on the website. There is no ratings for it. No one's rated it. So I don't know if it's gonna be good or bad. So rest assured, I'll be the first person to give this meal a rating along with all the other meals that I'll be eating in this video. Let's get cooking. All right, so this is Romesco chicken with wilted kale and potatoes. This was one of the famous Gordon Ramsay recipes plastered all over the advertisements. I started by chopping up the potatoes and placing them into a baking sheet with a generous amount of olive oil, and then adding this small packet of potato spice seasoning that they provided. After I massaged the potatoes like they just got home from a long day at the office, and then I popped them in the oven to cook for about 30 minutes. Interestingly, Gordon wanted to season the chicken with just salt and pepper, which I think is a bit basic, but hey, I'm gonna trust him here. I mean, he does have 17 Michelin stars, right? From here, I needed to add the chicken to a hot pan and cook undisturbed for about 4 to 6 minutes. While the chicken and potatoes cooked, I stemmed the kale, then had to flip the chicken and transfer the pan to a hot oven and roast for 6 to 8 minutes. While all that was going down, I started to make the famous Romesco sauce in the food processor. I added almonds, garlic, panko, paprika, red peppers, vinegar, salt, pepper, olive oil, and water to make an interesting red sauce. After that, I took the potatoes and chicken out of the oven and started to cook the kale. This was just chicken juice, olive oil, and some leftover garlic. This one took way longer than the first meal, but it was done. And honestly, it looked pretty good. But how did it taste? I'm gonna be honest, I don't like it. I think it's a little bit boring. I was expecting a lot more. Normally when I cook chicken, I marinate it in some way. I don't like this cooking the chicken and then just throwing sauce on top of it. I think it's kind of, dare I say, lazy. The kale also, it's kind of boring. Honestly, the whole thing is boring. Like the potatoes too, you got this like little packet and it's barely seasoned. The seasoning is just like not enough. Like when I season my potatoes, I season my potatoes. I don't like cooking chicken just with salt and pepper. I think that that's boring. Like I'd rather marinate it and then put sauce on top. Overall, I'm pretty disappointed. I think this is like a pretty lame meal. All right, next meal number 3, we are doing fondue turkey meatloaf. That's right, meatloaf. All meatloaf lovers, pay attention because this is about to get real. So this is the 3rd meal that I've done so far. And interestingly, it's the first one that's not a Gordon Ramsay meal. They sent me the wrong recipe again. They sent me a recipe for fall harvest turkey meatballs. So once again, I had to look up the recipe on my phone for the fondue turkey meatloaf. It, like before, has no ratings. So I'm curious to see how it stacks up. But yeah, let's cook some some meatloaf. This meal was the first one that came with a tin that you can actually use to cook in it, which I do think is neat. All these ingredients looked pretty fresh, and step one was to start the sweet potatoes. Basically, I just sprayed the pan and added the potatoes along with barbecue seasoning, garlic salt, olive oil, and pepper. I mixed everything together and spread it out in a single layer and baked for about 20 minutes. While that cooked, I moved on to the meatloaves. In one bowl, I combined the ground turkey, the remaining garlic salt, panko, and a pinch of salt. In a second bowl, I mixed softened cream cheese and shredded cheese, which was going to become the fondue topping later. After that, I pulled out the tray and pushed the potatoes to one side. From there, I tossed the meat around for fun and then made two little oval loaves. I added the turkey loaves to the empty side of the tray and then topped them with the cheese topping. After that, the whole tray went back into the oven. If anything browned too fast, you were supposed to cover it with foil, but mine behaved. When everything was done, I pulled out the tray and topped the meatloaves with crispy onions and pecans. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and honestly, this looked pretty solid. But of course the question is, how does it taste? All right, initial reaction, it's pretty good. The potatoes I thought were really flavorful. They have like this nice barbecue taste going on. These potatoes were significantly better than the potatoes I had yesterday. Again, like the seasoning on the other potatoes, there was like barely any in that bag, whereas this one they gave a lot. The turkey meatloaf is pretty good. It's the first time I've ever had turkey meatloaf. The cheese filling with the cream cheese and cheese mixture I thought is pretty tasty. The other thing too was this was way easier to cook than the last meal. The meal yesterday I just felt like the directions were all over the place. This was pretty straightforward. I also like that they gave that little like thing to put it all in. I thought that made things really easy. So yeah, I'm digging this food and I'm digging this meal. So after week one, we have one strong Gordon Ramsay meal, one big miss, and one solid regular home chef dish. It's too early to decide on whether Gordon actually knows what he's talking about, and if this is improving my cooking skills at all. But I will say I am enjoying the experience so far. It's pushing me out of my comfort zone, and I really like the comfort food. Comfort food reminds me of something else we don't think about enough. A great pair of socks. Today's sponsor is Bombas. Bombas makes uber comfortable socks, shirts, and underwear. I've been rocking their socks for a while now and can honestly tell you these are the best socks you'll ever wear. They're the kind of everyday upgrade that actually makes your day better with solid support, no slipping, and no weird seams. And yes, they make a great gift. My favorite part though about Bombas is their 1-for-1 donation model. For many of us, it's cold this time of year and a good pair of socks can make a massive difference. With Bombas, for every item you buy, they donate one to someone experiencing homelessness. To date, Bombas has donated over 150 million items, including socks, shirts, and underwear, the top 3 most requested items in homeless shelters. That is a big part of why Bombas has become one of my favorite brands to work with. I love the products, but I also love that they are doing something really important. Additionally, everything's backed by their 100% happiness guarantee, so if you ever lose a sock in some weird free cooking accident, they got you covered. So please head to bombas.com/Zackary and use code Zackary at checkout to get 20% off your first purchase, or just scan the QR code right here on the screen. Thank you so much, Bombas, for sponsoring this video. Okay, now back to it. All right, folks, it's time for the 4th meal. We're doing stunning miso salmon. Say that 5 times fast. They also sent me the correct recipes this time, so they're off to a good start, as well as some coupons. It says here, treat your friends and family to a home chef. We'll see about that. Other noteworthy things, I got this apron and this metal prep table because things are getting serious. Inside the meal is bok choy again. We're dealing with bok choy once again. It's interesting, we've had 4 meals. 2 of them have had bok choy. This is the most bok choy I've eaten in my life. So to begin, I of course prepped the vegetables, starting with Gordon Ramsay's seemingly favorite vegetable. After that, I needed to cut the cucumber, but I ran into a vegetable problem. This cucumber sucks. It's very bruised. Regardless of my feelings about these vegetables, I dealt with them. I tossed the cucumbers into a bowl with vinegar, sesame seeds, and a pinch of salt to create a quick pickle, something I've actually never done before. After that, I had to make the miso glaze to marinate the salmon. I grabbed another mixing bowl and added sugar, miso paste, soy sauce, the rest of the vinegar, and the ginger. And it smelled delicious. Next, I had to pat the salmon dry, pat, then add it to the glaze and let it marinate. While the salmon soaked everything up, I cooked the rice. Pretty basic, rice, water, and ginger. Once everything was prepped, I assembled the sheet pan. I placed the bok choy on one side, salmon on the other, and sprinkled some umami seasoning all over it. Then it went to the oven, and the directions were a bit confusing on cook time, but I tried to follow them to my best ability, and once it was done, I plated everything together. The rice, the salmon, pickled cucumbers, and how was it? I really liked it, but I don't know, the cost seemed like it was a lot. Like, this was the most expensive dish so far. So I do feel like because of the price, I don't really vibe with this one as much as the other ones, but overall it's pretty good, no complaints. All right, we're back with another recipe. This time we're doing a soup recipe. That's right, soup. Gordon Ramsay soup. Velvety cauliflower potato soup. So they actually sent me an email about this recipe. They said, we're reaching out to inform you that due to an unforeseen ingredients shortage, you may be receiving parsnips instead of cauliflower florets. So I guess we're dealing with parsnips now. And like, I don't mean to offend anybody, but who eats parsnips? I don't think I've ever bought a parsnip at the store. I don't think I've ever ordered a parsnip dish. So this is gonna be interesting for multiple reasons. One, we're entering into parsnip territory, a place I've never gone before. And then two, this is Gordon Ramsay's soup. All right, I'm shifting into soup mode. I started off by prepping the veggies. It said to cut the cauliflower florets into bite-sized pieces, so I assumed that was the same plan with the parsnips. Then I sliced a lemon, stripped the sage leaves, chopped the shallot, and minced the garlic. A lot of front-loaded work here, but that is kind of the vibe with most soups. Once everything was prepped, I heated a pot with olive oil and tossed in the garlic and shallot. They cooked for a minute until everything smelled like an Italian grandmother's house on Sunday. Then I added the parsnips and potatoes and stirred a bit. After that, I poured in water, this thing called mirepoix base, which I've never used before, and then a cream base. I stirred more, set a timer for 15 minutes, and covered to let it simmer. While the soup simmered, I tackled the toast. Now, normally, I don't need directions to make toast, but I am trying to see if Gordon has any toast tricks up his sleeve. Spoiler alert, he does not. Sorry everyone, Gordon Ramsay has not reinvented toast. At least not yet. After that, it was time to finish the soup. I blended everything with my blender until it was silky smooth. Then I put the soup back on the heat and added lemon juice as directed. Then I took out the bread and narrowly avoided a ciabatta disaster. Once everything was set, I ladled the soup into a bowl, toppled it with a drizzle of the sage brown butter, and prepared to begin my voyage into the world of soup. So, how did it taste? Oh my God. That's horrible. This might be the worst soup I've ever had. Like, I'm not kidding. I wish I could give this to like each one of you to try. It's the parsnips. It completely ruined everything. Make this at home, I dare you, with parsnip. You'll be disgusted. Actually, don't make this at home. I don't want you to waste food. It's awful. It's so bad. Like, oh, it's everything bad about soup put into one dish. Like, it's not good. It's disgusting. Like, I can't even, like, I'm not even gonna like eat it. Like, that's how bad it is. Like, the lemon, the parsnip combo is just gross. And again, I love potato soup. I love potato soup. I like soup in general. I'm a soup guy. I like soup, but this is horrible. Who thought this was a good idea? Because it's not. It's a bad idea. Or, you know what? I'm gonna quote Gordon Ramsay and say it was shit. It was shit. All right, so if you couldn't tell, this whole mix-up annoyed me and got me wondering about the logistics of these companies. How do you mess up badly enough that cauliflower gets replaced with parsnips? Those aren't even cousins. That's a produce identity crisis. And once I started digging, the picture became a lot clearer. Meal kit companies don't ship from one big warehouse. They operate multiple regional distribution centers across the country. Big refrigerated hubs where ingredients come in, get portioned, packaged, labeled, and shipped out on tight deadlines. Home Chef, for example, has facilities in places like Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas, and more, each supplying huge geographic regions. Every week, they're sending out millions of tiny portions of vegetables, sauces, herbs, proteins, spice packets, and more. Ingredients come in and get shipped out on insanely tight deadlines. They call this just-in-time sourcing. Basically, they don't keep a pantry. They order the food to arrive right before they pack your box. It's efficient for them, but it's risky for you. If a truck breaks down, if a supplier is short, you don't get cauliflower soup, you get parsnip soup. But here's the thing, this isn't just a me problem, and it's definitely not just a one-off thing. The Home Chef subreddit is filled with posts complaining about missing ingredients, wrong items, overripe produce, or recipe cards that don't match what's in the box. The Better Business Bureau page for Home Chef has a long list of complaints about shipping and quality issues too. Trustpilot isn't much better. I found multiple reviews about missing recipe cards, which I dealt with in my first week, and I still can't figure out how that's something they haven't fixed. But what really rubs me the wrong way is how they handle these situations. When they emailed me about the mix-up, there was no whoops button, no refund button, no option to swap out the meal for something else, nothing. If you complain, you probably get store credit, but I don't have time to message a chatbot about produce. So if we're asking whether these kits are worth it, we have to factor this in. You aren't just paying for the food, you're gambling on the logistics of an industry that hasn't fully figured itself out yet. All right, are you ready? It's time for the next meal. We are doing stovetop chicken Parmesan with pesto zucchini. This is not a Gordon Ramsay meal, but I'm actually really excited to see how this goes because I love chicken Parmesan. It's like one of my favorite dishes. So yeah, let's get started. Chicken parm can be made in all kinds of ways, but it really comes down to needing a binder and something to use as a crust. Usually the crust is panko crumbs and the binder is egg, at least in my experience. This time, Home Chef wanted me to coat the chicken with mayo and season it with garlic, pepper, and salt. Now, I have used mayo as a binder for barbecue, but not once in my life for chicken parm, but I'm always down to try something new. After everything was prepped, I threw the chicken in the oven for about 8 minutes. While the chicken did its thing, I started the zucchini on my cast iron skillet. When the 8 minutes were up, I flipped the chicken and topped it with marinara, mozzarella, and Parmesan. Then I went back to my skillet and did another thing that I have never done in my life. I put pesto on zucchini. Now, I am a massive pesto guy, so I was totally down to get a little experimental here, but again, something new. Once everything was ready, I plated the chicken Parmesan with the pesto zucchini, and everything smelled delicious. Visually, I think it looked great, but the real question is whether it was bussin'. So the chicken was pretty good. They didn't reinvent the wheel on chicken Parmesan. It's a pretty basic recipe for chicken parm. That doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just pretty good, not like phenomenal. And then as for the vegetable, I actually really did enjoy the pesto sauce included in it. I've never done like a pesto zucchini type dish before, so I thought that was pretty good. My complaint though, like with a lot of these dishes so far, is they just give you the bare minimum amount of seasoning or sauce, and I feel like with this, the vegetable dish specifically, it could have used more pesto sauce, and only occasionally am I getting the bites with the pesto sauce in it. So for those reasons, I would say it's good, but not great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing pizza. One of my favorite things, a classic, but we're doing it Gordon Ramsay style. What is Gordon Ramsay style? I don't really know. The directions on this one were a bit complex, especially for pizza, but I'm always up for the challenge. The first step was forming the meatballs. They had me mix panko, ground beef, onion, salt, and creme fraiche? Or creme fraiche, apparently. Creme fraiche in meatballs was new to me, but again, I rolled with it, literally, forming about 12 meatballs. They said 16, but I did 12 instead. Once they were on the tray, I roasted them for about 10 minutes until they browned and hit the safe temperature. While they cooked, I moved on to the sauce. Pretty straightforward. Saute garlic in olive oil, add Italian seasoning and red pepper flakes. Then dump in the tomato sauce and let everything simmer. It looked and smelled amazing. Then the flatbreads. Home Chef wanted them toasted directly on the oven rack first. At the same time, I mixed the pesto-ricotta together. A little out of order, but I had time to kill. Once the flatbreads came out golden, I started building everything. A layer of sauce, then the meatballs, and finally Parmesan on top. Essentially, pizza. They can call it flatbread all they want, but this is just pizza for people trying to be fancy. Credit where it's due, this smelled like heaven on earth. But how did it taste? It's very good. The meatballs are really good. The sauce is surprisingly spicy. It gives it a nice little kick. The pesto ricotta cheese blend complements the whole thing. I really like this. I'd say this is probably one of my favorite things that I've tried so far. Of course, you guys know I'm a big pizza guy. I love my pizza. And while this was definitely a fun experiment creating my own pizza at home, it does make you wonder, for this cost, why not just order a pizza? It's way more convenient, probably similar taste or somewhat the same, and you wouldn't have to make a mess of your kitchen. All right, next meal, we're doing a stress-free beurre blanc vegetable gnocchi. I started this meal by grabbing my knife and wandering around aimlessly, then took everything apart and was surprised by how many ingredients were involved for something reportedly stress-free. But I began by searing the gnocchi, something I've actually never done before. I've boiled them, but never seared. It was pretty simple. You just cook them until they're golden with some olive oil. From there, I chopped the asparagus and shallots, and then sauteed the shallots and asparagus until they softened. Then added peas, spinach, garlic salt, and red pepper flakes. After that, I added the golden gnocchi back into in the mix, along with the beurre blanc butter and creme fraiche. If you didn't know, beurre blanc is a classic French butter sauce that is famously not stress-free, but Home Chef, or Gordon Ramsay, simplified it to butter, creme fraiche, water, and lemon juice, and it became saucy fast. I topped it with walnuts, which I completely forgot to toast until the very end, but yeah, this felt somewhat fast to make, and it was time to smash. All right, so how did it taste? Honestly, pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with the flavor combination going on here. The vegetables, the gnocchi, the sauce. It tastes really delicious. The question, of course, though, on everyone's mind, is it stress-free? Was it easy to make? And the answer is yes. This one was relatively easy to make compared to a lot of the other dishes. I would say it's stress-free. And yeah, it's pretty delicious. All right, it's time for meal number 9. This time we're doing spinach and goat cheese smothered chicken. Now what's interesting is once again, they gave us the wrong card. They sent us another card for Tex-Mex chicken lettuce cups, although that's not at all what I ordered. This is twice now that this has happened where they've sent us the wrong recipe card. So once again, I had to look on my phone for the recipe and follow that way. I just think it's weird that that's happened twice now. Another notable thing about this dish is they already cut up the peppers and onions. So for this one, you literally just throw it in the pan and are done with it. So that's nice. It seems somewhat pretty straightforward. I've made versions of smothered chicken plenty of times, and this seemed pretty in line with that, except this used way more plastic and looked like it had less seasoning. The prep for the vegetables was basically just removing them from their plastic bags, dumping the broccoli, peppers, and onions into the provided tray, and adding a little salt and olive oil. I shook everything around, covered it with foil, and threw it in the oven. Afterwards, I marched around a bit and started the chicken. So far, every Home Chef recipe has told me to pat dry the chicken, something I normally don't have to do because my chicken at home isn't soaking wet. Then I made the smothered mixture, which was spinach, goat cheese, creme fraiche, pepper, and a splash of water. Once that was ready, I seasoned the chicken with a garlic and parsley mix, added salt, and when the vegetables had cooked for a bit, I placed the chicken on the empty side of the tray. I spread the goat cheese blend on top, covered everything with a small portion of chimichurri seasoning they gave me, and cooked it for about 20 minutes. This was definitely one of the easier things I've made so far. There was not a lot of prep at all, but did that pay off to something tasty? Honestly, it's pretty average. More sauce and more seasoning. Keep getting like these small packets and this small amount of sauce. And I feel like, again, these dishes are like 1 or 2 or even 3 steps away from being really good. Like the sauce in itself is delicious, but there's just very little of it. Pretty average. It's pretty safe. I would say that if you wanted to serve this to somebody with, boring taste, great, they'd probably love it. But for me, who likes a lot of things, a lot of different seasonings and spices, I'd say it's pretty average. And for that reason, I'm just really not that into it. All right, it's time for the next meal. We're doing a little filet mignon. This is Gordon Ramsay's take on a steak dish. And before this is made, I need to address the elephant in the room. The price. This dish was the most expensive, costing about $25 a serving for a total of $50. About $25 a serving to cook for yourself? Are you serious? In this economy? When you look at the numbers from this whole challenge so far, the range is all over the place. Gordon's meals floated anywhere between $12 and $25, while the regular Home Chef meals sat closer to $12. Not outrageous, but definitely more than buying groceries and cooking the same thing yourself. They throw all these numbers at you, like 70% off your first box, extra free meals, free shipping, just to make you feel like you're getting a deal, when the reality is you're paying a premium. Take the chicken. Home Chef has been sending me 12-ounce packs of chicken breasts. With the meal costing around $12 a serving, the math works out to roughly $16 a pound for chicken breasts. Now, obviously the price includes the extras, the rice, the veggies, but typically things like carrots cost pennies. The value is in the meat. And considering chicken breasts at the grocery store cost anywhere from $2.50 to maybe $5 a pound, you're getting absolutely rinsed here. But let's circle back to the steak. This is a 10-ounce pack of beef tenderloin fillets. At $25, that comes out to roughly $40 per pound. If you have no clue what beef tenderloin should cost, I don't blame you. I didn't either until I looked it up, and $40 a pound is boutique butcher territory. I checked the prices at Kroger, Home Chef's own parent company, and you can buy this exact same cut for $18 to $26 per pound. On average, beef tenderloin fillets and center cut steaks sit between $18 to $26 per pound, depending on your region. So put simply, this meal kit steak costs almost double what you'd pay at an ordinary grocery store. It's like you were paying the restaurant price without the restaurant. Now, in Home Chef's defense, they aren't unique here. HelloFresh does it, Blue Apron does it, Factor does it. All these meal kits know that most people won't actually run the math. You're paying for the portioning, delivery, and the illusion that following a recipe card is basically culinary school. It's about the convenience, but it is an insanely high markup when you do check the math. So is it really worth it? Well, let's continue on. Time to cook the filet mignon. I started by roasting the potatoes, halving them, tossing them with olive oil and seasoning, and spreading them out on a baking sheet to cook. While the potatoes did their thing, I moved on to the bacon chive situation. I chopped the chives, sizzled the tiny bit of bacon they gave me, and threw in the panko to toast. Then it was time for the meat. Home Chef sent me 2 small fillets. I patted them dry, seasoned them with salt, and tossed them into my cast iron skillet. After that, I dressed the arugula by tossing it with lemon juice, olive oil, and salt as our side. Once the steaks were done, I took them off and used the same skillet to make the gravy, or poivre. Traditionally, this is a peppercorn cream sauce that requires a little finesse. Home Chef simplified it to chives, mushroom base, heavy cream, and creme fraiche. I mixed everything together, let it simmer, and it actually looked pretty legit. Soon after, the potatoes were done and I plated everything. The whole dish came together nicely. But as always, appearances don't matter. The question is, did this expensive Gordon Ramsay branded meal taste restaurant quality? All right, honestly, this was delicious. Whatever that mushroom stuff is, it like really brought out some special flavor. I don't even know how to describe it. It's so good. Potato wise, they're nothing too crazy. I mean, it's just some basic potatoes. For the salad, it's pretty average. I do think it works well with the steak and potatoes. It's a nice complementary side. It was delicious and it was phenomenal, but again, like you could pick up steak, you could pick up all these items yourself, probably a whole stick of bacon, and you'd get way more food out of it. But now that I know this gravy recipe, I'm 100% gonna take this with me because that gravy is phenomenal. So for that alone, I did really like the dish and I do think it was very delicious. All right, next meal. We're doing a stunning Mediterranean spiced shrimp and couscous. Now, if you didn't know, I'm a big couscous guy. Some might even call me a couscous fan. I also have some experience with shrimp. People said I messed up shrimp, so there's a little bit of a redemption arc in me cooking shrimp. Will I make it good? Will I make it bad? Well, you're gonna have to keep watching. Also, there's this thing in here called za'atar, which I've never even heard of that term before. So za'atar seasoning is a Middle Eastern spice blend that actually dates all the way back to the 12th century, making it one of the oldest spice blends in the world, which I think is pretty cool. To start this dish, I cooked the couscous. Pretty simple, you just cook couscous like you would rice. From there, I chopped the zucchini, cut the tomatoes, minced the shallot, sliced the lemon, and seasoned all the vegetables with salt and pepper. After that, I dealt with the shrimp. It was super wet and kind of gross. Then I tossed the zucchini with paprika and olive oil, spread it out on a baking sheet, and threw it in the oven. While the zucchini roasted, I added the tomatoes and shallots to the couscous and set it aside. And now we arrive at the shrimp. This time, like LeBron returning to Cleveland, I made history and cemented my legacy by cooking the shrimp like a pro. And if you disagree, you're disagreeing with Gordon Ramsay. Just remember that. I gotta say, it's amazing. I have never had a shrimp dish like this before. I gotta say, this is like really, really good. Would I ever order this at a restaurant? No. But now I actually might. Like, I'm shocked with how good this dish is. This is probably the one that I was least excited about eating, and it really did surprise me through and through. With this one, there was plenty of seasoning in the packet, so I think that helped too, because as we've discussed before, sometimes there hasn't been that much seasoning, but this one, they hooked us up, and they gave us a ton of feta cheese too, which I thought was pretty nice. I can't lie, Gordon knows his shrimp. All right, next dish. This is one sheet hot honey mustard chicken. Now, if you're familiar with the channel, you know I've dealt with hot honey before, so I'm practically an expert in that department, so this shouldn't be a problem. This dish looks really good. Just from the pictures, it looks like it's got this nice glaze going on, so I'm super interested to see how this works out. Also worth mentioning, despite the name one sheet hot honey mustard chicken, it doesn't come with a sheet. I have to use my own, which is fine, but I just thought maybe it would be like one of the other dishes we've had so far where it all comes in one and then you can just throw it in there. But anyways, let's check this one out. It all starts with Brussels sprouts. I prepped them, and if I'm being honest, these didn't look like the highest quality, but Of course, I made it work. Then I patted the chicken dry because Home Chef is sending me the wettest poultry known to mankind. After that, I dipped the chicken in panko. Just panko. No seasoning, no binder. This feels a little weird to me, but we'll see. I was instructed to use half the garlic salt on top and cook everything for 15 minutes. While it cooked, I made the sauce, which was just melted butter mixed with honey, mustard, smoked paprika, garlic salt, and red pepper flakes. This actually looked and smelled very tasty. When the time was up, I flipped the chicken, let it cook for another 5 minutes, then took it out and poured the hot honey blend all over the top. I put it back in the oven for 2 more minutes before finally taking out everything, plating it together, and giving it a try. All right, so how did it taste? Well, this is pretty darn good. The sauce is really, really tasty. It's the perfect combination of sweet and spicy. Having said that, I think the whole dish just falls short, and here's why. There's just 2 items on it. You've got chicken and Brussels sprouts. Call me crazy, but that's not a meal. It needs one more thing. I don't know what it is. Maybe a pasta, a potato. The chicken was good, but that was it. That was pretty much the only redeeming quality. And after cooking that chicken and now 12 meals from Home Chef, I started to notice something strange with a lot of the recipes I was making. There was a lot of inconsistency. The recipe language varied a lot. Some directions were easy to follow, others felt like I was trying to complete a culinary puzzle. The quality and tone did not feel like it was coming from one creative mind. And that got me thinking, how involved is Gordon Ramsay here? So I did what any perfectly sane person would do and started digging through Home Chef's publicly available legal documents, checked their FAQs, their terms and conditions, and even a purchase order for one of their supplier contracts. And in that paperwork, I found something interesting. There's a section that spells out exactly how Home Chef handles anything created for them. It says that any processes, methods, or other creative work developed for Home Chef is legally considered a quote work product that belongs entirely to Home Chef, not the creator, not the chef, Home Chef. In other words, if someone develops a recipe for them, Home Chef owns it outright, permanently. Which led me to my next realization. Home Chef does not just ship boxes of food with recipe cards. They have full-time research and development chefs. You can see the job listings yourself. These are people whose day-to-day work is developing, testing, and consistently pumping out recipes for the company. Interesting. So then I looked at how Home Chef talks about its celebrity collaborations. When they partnered with Rachel Ray, they said directly, quote, easy to follow recipes created by Ray herself. When they partnered with Dolly Parton, there was a heavy focus on her good-looking cooking cookbook, which clearly points to actual family recipes. But with Gordon Ramsay, things get complicated. On Gordon's own Facebook ads, he calls them My Culinary Collection Meals and My 5-Star Meals. And the brand says these are meals Gordon swears by. Home Chef's website also calls them Gordon Ramsay's 5-Star Meals, right on the landing page. But when you look at the more formal materials, the tone shifts. In Home Chef's official press release, the only authorship phrasing is, quote, recipes inspired by Gordon Ramsay's cooking. Inspired by, not created by, not developed by, not tested by, just inspired. And this gets even stranger. I checked Home Chef's source code on their official Gordon Ramsay landing page. The source code, if you didn't know, includes the hidden metadata that the website sends to search engines. Meta tags are not written for consumers, they're written for search engines and often reflect the more factual description behind the scenes. And tucked inside that metadata is a phrase that gives it all away. It says, quote, inspired by Gordon Ramsay. This is an internal declaration that the content is branded as Gordon, but not authored by Gordon, which means the only place these are being presented as his meals is in the marketing layer on the surface. Now, I never want to assume anything. It is impossible to know how involved Gordon Ramsay was with these Home Chef meals without him directly stating it. This could be a coincidence or maybe a miscommunication. Maybe these really are his personal recipes. Or maybe Home Chef's in-house research and development chefs created a slate of dishes and Gordon signed off on the ones he wanted. Both scenarios are possible. And when you look back at the meals so far, the inconsistency starts to line up with that. Some dishes hit, some fall flat, some instructions make sense, some feel scrambled. This is what you would expect if these recipes were not coming from one person or one chef, but from a corporate pipeline. If Gordon personally created these recipes, Home Chef would and should say so. They did it with Rachel Ray, they did it with Dolly Parton. Those collaborations are crystal clear about authorship. But that brings up the real question. Does any of this actually matter? If you're using these kits to improve your cooking, save time, and get something decent on the table, does it really change whether the recipe came from Gordon Ramsay, Rachel Ray, or a completely anonymous R&D chef from a test kitchen? For some, probably not. But for everyone signing up because they believe they're learning Gordon Ramsay's 5-star meals, the answer isn't so simple. Well, well, well. It is my 5th and final week. My 3 final meals have been delivered. You might be wondering where I got this chef's hat. Well, Home Chef did not deliver it to me. Despite me deserving it, I had to order it off Amazon for an inappropriate, ungodly amount. Some may call it crass, I call it necessary. This is for the haters, the doubters, the non-believers. Gordon Ramsay, the people in the comments who say I can't cook, and of course, my home ec teacher who said, Zach, you're a terrible chef and you have ridiculous hair. The dish is Gordon Ramsay's brilliant blue cheese beef burger, a gourmet burger. I didn't know there was such a thing. I started with the fries. I cut them up, tossed them with oil and salt, and threw them in the oven. While the fries were cooking, I hopped over to caramelize the onions. Then came the aioli, which was lemon juice, garlic, a lot of garlic, mayo, hot sauce, salt, and pepper. I stirred it all together like a wizard making a potion. I checked on the fries and moved on. Then I made the burgers. Despite all the seasoning they gave me for the aioli, this part was just ground beef, salt, and pepper. I formed 2 patties, seared them in a hot pan, and melted the blue cheese on top. Easy, straightforward, nothing to complain about. They also wanted me to whip up a little arugula side, salt, pepper, lemon juice, and olive oil. The fries finished, the burgers got flipped and topped with cheese, and of course I toasted the buns. It all looked pretty fantastic. But then again, most burgers do. All right, does the Gordon Ramsay burger live up to the hype? Not really. I mean, I think it's very good. Don't get me wrong. It's a great burger, but I was just expecting a little bit more. I think that it's a pretty basic burger that you could pretty much get anywhere. I wouldn't consider this gourmet. And if you're gonna do burgers, just make them yourself. Don't order them from a meal kit. Just buy ground beef, buy potatoes, and do your own version of a burger. I'm sure it'll be just as good, if not better. Oh, hey, it's time for another shrimp dish. This time, we're doing crispy shrimp. This one kicked off like half the meals in this challenge, make rice. While that simmered, I chopped the green onions and tossed together a quick slaw with yuzu sauce, carrots, and cabbage. Simple enough. Then I sauteed the snap peas with the green onions, just olive oil, salt, and pepper. After, I took a look at the shrimp, and yeah, another pack of runny shrimp. Like super runny. Anyways, they wanted me to combine tempura mix, salt, and water to make a pancake-like batter binder for the shrimp. For the crust, they wanted panko and sesame seeds. Frying these was messy, and honestly did not work out great. I think I needed more panko, or the ratio was off, but I followed the directions exactly how they wanted it. Afterwards though, I plated the rice, topped it with the slaw, added the snap peas, and finished it all with the crispy shrimp and sesame sauce. Looking at like the pictures, I don't know if they gave me too much sesame seed and like not enough of the panko, just like way too much. So it kind of like discolored some of the shrimp, and also it's just like way too much sesame seed. I'm not really crazy about the shrimp. Is this the worst dish I had so far? No, but it's definitely at the very, very bottom. And I would not recommend this. I think it's pretty bad. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. It's time for the final meal. We're gonna be making some salmon. We're finishing with salmon for a reason. I wanted one last comparison, one final look at a regular Home Chef meal versus a Gordon Ramsay meal. If you remember earlier, we cooked Gordon Ramsay's version of salmon early on, so this is a true side-by-side. Prep was straightforward. I seasoned the salmon with Cajun seasoning, salt, pepper, and olive oil, then placed it skin down on the baking sheet. The potatoes and asparagus went on the other half with more olive oil, salt, pepper, and cheese. Cheese on asparagus. I'm still undecided on that one. Once everything was set, the whole tray roasted until the veggies were tender and the salmon hit temp. And yeah, that's another salmon dish. A Home Chef salmon dish. This final plate gives me the perfect opportunity to answer one of the big questions that we've been seeking the answers for in this video. Was there a significant difference between Gordon's meals and the regular Home Chef ones? Put simply, no. I expected Ramsay's to be noticeably better, and they weren't. They all felt about the same. And honestly, if you've been following these star ratings throughout the video, the numbers back that up. 15 meals, parsnip soup, a full shrimp redemption arc, and getting inside Gordon Ramsay's crazy Home Chef world. I'm ready to tell all. First, the value isn't just there for most people. Not when you compare the pricing, the logistic issues, and the fact you're often paying restaurant adjacent prices for food you still have to cook yourself. The turkey meatloaf was fun and the stir fry was great, but then there was the meals that felt pointless, like the flatbread pizza. If you're gonna get pizza, just order a pizza. If you're gonna spend time making burgers, you might as well buy the ingredients yourself and spend a fraction of the cost. And the annoying part is those meals were delicious. Some of those were actually my favorite, but they still felt like a waste because there's zero advantage to making that specific meal through a kit. I think the only real silver lining, the only consistently strong part of this whole thing is how meal kits push you to try something new. I liked being pushed outside my normal routine. Cooking things I'd never typically make was a blast, and I get why some people enjoy that part of meal kits. Did I become a better cook? Maybe, a little. Was it because of Gordon Ramsay? Absolutely not. It was because I spent a month cooking real recipes instead of staying in my comfort zone. I can't remember the last time I followed a recipe before this. When I cook, I normally just cook my staple meals. I don't try too many different things. So in that sense, yeah, I actually did enjoy the experience. So here it is. No, Gordon Ramsay's home chef meals aren't a scam, but for most people, they're probably just not worth the money. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed me losing my mind for a month. Special thanks to Bombas for sponsoring this video, and of course, my Patreon supporters. You guys are the MVPs. Thank you so much. Until next time, bye-bye.